Today on Sports Central, we'll be going over a full game prediction and preview on one of the biggest games of Week 2 of the 2020 NFL season, and that's going to be the Baltimore Ravens at the Houston Texans. And this is going to be quite a matchup between both of these teams. Obviously, they both made it to the playoffs last season, but the Ravens, on one hand, ended up beating off the Browns last week with a big win. Browns hardly even stood a chance in that one. Meanwhile, for the Texans coming in, they took a loss to the Chiefs on a Thursday night. However, the Texans are still looking pretty good coming into this game. This is going to be a very important one for both these teams, and it could have AFC implications moving forward. So, yeah, this is going to be a very important matchup for both teams, and we're going to be giving you guys a full preview and prediction here today, starting off with your team trends. Of course, last week Houston lost to Kansas City 20-34. They lost by a couple of touchdowns on the road, and Kansas City, obviously with Pat Mahomes and with them being reigning Super Bowl champions, they're looking very good right now. I think Kansas City and Baltimore are definitely going to be two of the top teams in the AFC, if not the top two teams. So, yeah, they're both looking very good right now. And, looking at Baltimore once again, they beat off the Browns 38-6. Browns they couldn't even stand a chance. 38-6, that was a blowout win in week number 1 for the Ravens, looking very good right now. And as far as their winning streaks go, of course, the Ravens have a one-game winning streak as they are 1-0. Meanwhile, for the Texans, they are 0-1 with a one-game losing streak. So obviously, the winning streaks really don't make much of a difference right now. But as we move forward, it will be able to show you guys kind of who has the better trend and who has more momentum in the end. As far as the info about this game goes, it's going to be on Sunday, September 20th. This upcoming Sunday, 4:25 p.m. Eastern. So it's going to be your main afternoon game this upcoming Sunday. It's going to be in Houston. Spread currently says Ravens by 7, which kind of surprises me. The spread was really saying the Ravens are going to get a big win here, which I don't think it's going to be a blowout win by any means. I think this game is going to be a very close one. I think we see both teams duel back and forth quite a bit. But yeah, the spread for 7, that's basically like saying that it's thinking that the Ravens will win by 2 touchdowns. So, kind of an interesting fact there, but the ESPN FPI is saying Ravens 68%. Meanwhile, Vegas is expecting a 15-point win by Baltimore 31-16. So another interesting prediction there. But once again, I think it's going to be much closer than what people are thinking. Obviously with the Texans not having DeAndre Hopkins, that's already had a big impact on this team for sure. It was very evident last week seeing Deshaun Watson without his top receiver. But in the end, it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust to that and whether they can adjust to that for that matter. As far as your stat comparison goes, of course, looking at the quarterbacks for the Baltimore Ravens, you got Lamar Jackson, who last week was 20 for 25, great completion rate, along with 310 total yards. I believe he had 50 rushing yards last week, along with 3 touchdowns. So yeah, he had a pretty good game. Mark Ingram really did not get much action. He went for 10 attempts on 29 yards, so he really did not gain a whole lot of yardage. Lamar Jackson was your main rusher for this team last week. But as far as the receiving core goes, it was very busy last week. Marquise Brown led the pack, 5 receptions, 101 yards. Willie Snead was your second one with 4 receptions, 64 yards, and a touchdown. Meanwhile, Mark Andrews, the tight end, had 5 receptions for 58 yards and 2 touchdowns. As far as it goes on the Texans side, Deshaun Watson, 20 for 32, 253 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Meanwhile, David Johnson, coming in from Arizona, had 11 attempts for 77 yards and a touchdown as well. The receiving corps was also pretty busy for the Texans last week. Will Fuller led the pack with 8 receptions and 112 yards. Meanwhile, Jordan Akins had 2 receptions, 39 yards, and a touchdown. And then Randall Cobb coming in had 2 receptions for 23 yards as well. So, yeah, both offenses are looking very good coming into this game. David Johnson had a very strong first appearance for this Texans team last week, and that's going to have a very big impact moving forward, I think, on this team. David Johnson, obviously, he's not the best running back in the league by any means, but he's definitely a very big part of it. And so, David Johnson, if he can perform well for this Texans team, that is just another additional weapon that's going to be huge for this team moving forward, which I still do not think that the trade giving away DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson was a good idea. If I were the Texans, I would have definitely kept DeAndre Hopkins instead of getting David Johnson, but in the end, it just kind of came down to cap space, and so David Johnson was the better pick. But in the end, David Johnson, he's definitely got to up his game a bit, which, he's been a pretty inconsistent running back, especially when he was with Arizona. He was very injured for a good chunk of the last few years, so that's going to be something that you got to watch out for throughout this season, is his injury prone, him being injury prone. But in the end, he had a very strong first showing for sure. He was very promising in their game against the Chiefs. Ravens had a very dominant win in week 1. Once again, we've been over that. They beat off the Browns pretty easily. Texans had to play a brutal team in the Kansas City Chiefs, reigning Super Bowl champions. All around tough game there. Texans can't make many mistakes though in this one. I mean, the Ravens are going to be on fire from the start. I think this Ravens team is easily one of the hottest teams in the league right now. So, the Texans cannot make any mistakes whatsoever in this game if they want to win, and it's going to help a lot to have the game at home for the Texans. But then again, I mean, with limited fans or no fans, that is something you got to consider. But nonetheless, still with it being at home for the Texans, that could give them a pretty good benefit. And I mean, looking at the quarterbacks as well, especially Lamar Jackson, he had a very, very strong start last week, 20 for 25 once again. So he's a very strong quarterback last week, and I expect that to continue going into week number 2. So watch out for that. But with that being said, now let's look at my prediction for this one. I think the Ravens get off to a fast start, and I think at halftime it's going to be a very close game. 17-14, Ravens will lead by 3 at the half. Then your final score, 34-24. Ravens are going to win this one by 10, and I went back and forth on this one several times. I mean, I could easily see the Texans getting a win here. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that the Texans could win this game at some point. But I think the Ravens do get the win in the end by 10. 34-24 once again is going to be your final score here. Ravens are going to go to 2-0. Meanwhile, the Texans will drop to 0-2. But then again, I mean, for the Texans, once again, they've had to play 2 extremely tough opponents right off the bat. So I think it's going to be all up after this game for the Texans. But yeah, very rough start. I mean, the Ravens and the Chiefs, I think, will be your top 2 seeds at the end of the day for the AFC. So, I mean, yeah, once again, for the Texans, just a very tough start, a very brutal start to their schedule. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they do in the future. But once again, Ravens are going to win this one, 34-24. That will be your final score. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this one. Let me know your score predictions as well as your team predictions for this game. If you enjoyed this preview, be sure to slap a like on it and subscribe as well. It really helps out the channel. I'd really appreciate that. But as always, thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central, and I will see you all later.